UndergroundVideoNetwork.com presents the We Talk Too Much podcast.
This is where the fun begins.
Comic books, superheroes, sci-fi, gaming, and everything nerdy.
That's it. This is just too weird.
Now, here's your host of the We Talk Too Much podcast, Mike and Richard.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Underground Video Network's We Talk Too Much. And no, you didn't accidentally minimize the wrong screen. We do have a third person with us. But first, I am Michael Boroff, and as with me always is...
Richard.
We have a third in the quote-unquote studio.
Yeah, we got Josh with us today.
Yes, for those listening, we've got our friend Josh Nealis of Cutthroat Comics. Josh, good to see you.
Howdy, howdy. I was just sharing it, making sure to do my part.
Thank you.
So how's everything going? We haven't talked to you since it was Gym City down in Dayton.
Yeah, that was last day. Yeah. You know, I always like when I'm doing cons and stuff, and then out of the corner of my eye, I always see one of you or both of you, and I'm like, there's my people. Yep, and that con was, it was a little slow, but, we did all right. I say we as in there were other people there, but we, the royal we did all right. It was fun. Yeah,
we hype up Gym City as much as we can because it's one of our favorite shows that we've been attending. Richard, throw that number out.
It's the second year.
Yeah. And this year they did have some struggles, mostly because they were doing a lot of work to the convention center, right, Rich?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
They were doing like the carpets and stuff up in that one deck area because we got to go to that one, take some pictures from up above because we never had that.
I looked, Richard. For those that attended Gym City, you might have noticed it was a little weird. They were working on a convention center. They had half of it blocked off with a curtain so they could work on the other side. They weren't able to do any panels this year because a lot of that area upstairs was being renovated too. They were laying down new carpet. And I'm telling you, Richard, I went back through all of our photos where we were standing and I got that great picture. Those had to have been offices in the years past because we've never been up there before.
Okay.
So so they're knocking down offices, they're tearing down rooms, and they were adding on to others. But it was still a really good turnout. It was a good show.
Yeah, it was fun. It was the guy next to me, Steven Hines. Steven. I assume it's Steven. It was funny the first day. Were you guys there Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
We were there Saturday.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned it to you. I showed up wearing my pink shirt and my gray shorts, and then he shows up wearing a pink shirt and gray shorts, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" And it was like that thing on TikTok. And when I saw him, I was like, "Well, one of us has to change."
And then you both leave, and you both come back with more outlandish outfits, but they're still the same. Yeah. Yep. I do. Real quick, I got to mention, because we haven't got a chance to really talk about Gym City to the people watching or listening. This was one of the reasons why Gym City was, and will always be one of my favorite cons. Rick, you don't mind? I got to tell this. I got to tell the bounty hunter story.
Oh.
So I'm dressed as Peter Capaldi's doctor. It was my first run of it. I absolutely loved it. It was super comfortable. The 501st was there, and they were phenomenal as always. Two of the people there at the 501st were dressed as prisoners from the series Andor, which I was just like, I love obscure. I was like, bravo, well done. Well, at one point, I'm talking to our mutual friend Molly Durst, and no, Richard, you were actually doing an interview.
Oh yeah.
You were doing an interview, so I was behind the counter, and one of the prisoners comes running up to me, and he goes, Doctor, I need your help. So, me being me, of course, I'm like, well, what do you need, good sir? He goes, I need a distraction. and I look over his shoulder and I see a Mandalorian bounty hunter walking right towards him. And I look at him and I go, I got you. So he takes off. The bounty hunter starts walking. I get right in front of the bounty hunter. And full doctor, excuse me, pardon me. Oh, look at you, lovely, wonderful. Look at this. This is phenomenal. I love this. This is great. Can I get a picture? He nods his head. So I get my camera out and I just start fiddling with it. Like I've never used this camera before. I was like, oh, and he said, I even went so far, I got my sonic screwdriver out and I started fiddling with the camera, you know, and I can't see their face, but I could feel their face. And in that great electronic voice, he goes, I know what you're doing. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Just, oh, great. So I take the picture. I go, on your way, good sir. And he just stops and he did the head cock. And he leaves. Well, later on, about an hour or so later, I'm talking to our mutual friend, Molly Durst, and I'm telling her the story. You couldn't have written the timing better. The Mandalorian comes walking up to me, right between me and Molly, gets right in my face, and in that great electronic voice goes, you cost me that bounty, doctor. You're on my list. And I'm like, I'm losing it. Molly's completely lost it. He's walked away. Couldn't get any better, but it did. A second later, the same prisoner pops up out of nowhere. Doctor! I owe you one. Thumbs up and just takes off. And I'm like, this is why I love Gem City.
That's funny. So I actually did want to ask you a question. So I think we talked briefly. I've never dove into Doctor Who. I'm familiar with some of the things. So what exactly is the sonic screwdriver? Like what's it? It's
his Deus Ex Machina, his get out of jail free. It's his little tool that can pretty much do damn near anything. It's like R2-D2's port that can even in the Empire can unlock anything.
Okay.
That's it.
Gotcha.
It can do, damn near anything. This is, I got it right here. This was Peter Capaldi's sonic screwdriver. Yes, I have damn near all of them.
Oh, do they each get a different one?
It's translated a couple. Well, it had translated from Eccleston to Tennant, but then after that, each doctor got their own sonic screwdriver.
Okay. And how? I assume you've watched the new season with the kid from Sex Education as the doctor. Yeah. How was he? Did he do good?
I think he's brilliant. I absolutely loved him.
I like him a lot. He was really good in that show. If you've never seen that show, anybody watching or that watches this, Sex Education on Netflix. I think it ran like 4 seasons. It's a really good show. It's fun.
No, he's absolutely brilliant. I adore him. He fits the character very well. He's one of those doctors that him in that role, you can't imagine anybody else in that role now for his particular incarnation of the doctor.
Okay.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
That's good. Yeah. It was cool to when I first saw he was getting that role, I was like, good for him. Like he's so good. So yeah, that's good to hear. And
he's a good starting off point too, because one of the things people have always said about Doctor Who was it's so hard to, the history. And yes, it can be. There are a lot of episodes, but there are definitive standalone episodes, and there are great jumping off points where you don't need to know the last 50, if not 20 years. And he's a great starting, which is what I really think they were going after.
Yeah. They
wanted a fresh starting off point, and they couldn't have picked somebody better.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had to run by a couple friends. I'm like, I cosplay the Doctor. Would it be okay? And they're like, yeah, it's okay, Mike. You're bald.
Yeah. buddy, they're not home. They're not home. Sorry. My
That's
kid
good.
wants to play games with our friends, and they're not even home. Sorry. They're not home, but they're at the thing. Sorry.
So let's get to the point. Why you got a new Kickstarter, right?
Yes.
Yes, I do. It's almost like you guys knew that before I came on here.
I like that inadvertent lean in too. Being a hat man myself, I picked up on that, the subtle lean.
Yep. Yeah, Turkey Sharks, now it's issue number 5, 1 through 5, clearly, because that's how you count. And this is the finale of this series, at least for now. Like, we may do like another, series down the line with all these characters, but right now this is the full story that, you would want. It's super funny. It's super fun. And that's kind of what people, as I'm doing these podcasts and stuff, and a lot of the people have read the books, all of them are saying like, it's so fun. It's not like a serious, like deep story. You can jump in, read it, have fun with it, laugh at it. It's one of those, it's almost like a comfort thing because it's not something you have to take super seriously. It's not like Dark Knight Returns or whatever. It's not that gritty. It's light, it's airy, it's silly. But yeah, it's kind of bittersweet because this is the end of this series. I know when Cristiano Reyna sent me the final page of it, he and I both chatted for a second, and it was like Inside Out, where it's like a happy and sad feeling at the same time. And we both loved the ending. Like when I remember when I wrote that into the script, the ending, I was like, that's a good ending. And then when he drew it and all the words and pictures are there, we both were like, couldn't have ended it better, I don't think. So
now people watching or listening can go back and see our previous episodes with you. But for those that haven't, give us a little rundown about Turkey Sharks.
Yeah. So I've been going since 2015. We did 3 separate series of 3 issues, and that's basically my big 3. So there's Pedo Man and Kid Friendly, there's Ginger Avenger, and there's Stinger, who was formerly known as Stingray, but we've kind of shortened it to Stinger. Those are kind of my big 3-4 characters, and Turkey Sharks is all those characters and their friends rolled into one team. So it's basically like my Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see them play against each other and interact, and all the villains come in there too. So it's basically just every idiotic idea I've ever had in, now 5 comic books.
And you've been doing what you said, 2015?
Yep, 9 years. So 14 comics in 9 years, and that's not counting like the novels and all that other stuff that I've written. I think I've got 13 of those now. So
Wow.
Yeah, I don't play around.
Yeah, because that's something a lot of people don't understand about an independent creator such as yourself. You don't have the luxury of working for one of the big, we used to be able to say the big 2, but one of the bigger companies where you were paid to do this.
Right.
You clock in to do this. You are balancing your personal life and doing this.
Yeah,
so for a lot of people that think like, oh, he's had that long to do it. Like, no. It's not like you were sitting in a room every day for 8 hours every day, Monday through Friday. But
Oh yeah, if this was my job, it would be quadruple. Yeah, the thing, and I did a thing the other night with a bunch of other creators, and we all were kind of talking, and if you want to be successful at this and all that, it's a grind. Like literally Monday through Friday, I'm up at 5:30 a.m. I go to my day job. I get home about 3:15 or so, and then from 3:15 to 7 o'clock at night, I'm doing my workout. If I have my kid that day, which is half the days, I'm doing everything with him. I'm writing, I'm sending emails, I'm making phone calls. I'm trying to sign other creators. I'm trying to message all my artists and get them in line. I'm writing scripts. Like it's nonstop. So yeah, pretty much throughout the week, Monday through Friday, or 14-hour days. On the weekends, usually I can get things wrapped up by about noon. And I'm still getting up at like 6:37, like I try to sleep in a little bit on the weekends. So the weekends I'm still putting in, 6-ish hours or whatever it is. So it's a grind.
Yeah, that is definitely something a lot of people don't understand is it's there's so much more to it, especially you being the creator, than just, I just write and then poof, it magically goes off and gets created. That's what a lot of people really think. Richard, you know this too, where it's just, it must be so easy. Oh, I've got a few minutes here, all right. And then all of a sudden, poof, comic book. No.
Nope. It's its own full-time job. And then see, for me, I think, like I said, I'm a single dad, so I own my own house. So all the bills are me. So that means all the dishes, all the trash, all the cleaning is also me. Mowing the yard, also me. And then on top of that, because I'm a glutton for punishment, I also buy and sell comic book collections and sometimes toys because I needed more to do. So I decided to do that as well. So I'm tired every night. People talk about, I see people on Facebook and stuff and social media like, oh, I didn't sleep well last night, or I have problems sleeping. It's like, nope. Every night when I hit the bed, like 5 minutes, I'm gone.
Yep. And Richard, you can attest to this. We've been doing this for a long time, and I like to think that we have a nice, little fan base, but we haven't hit influencer status. They're like, oh, well, why aren't you guys doing this? And not to speak for Richard, but it's like, I have a life. Podcast, it ain't going to light that ceiling fan up there. It's not going to, and I know you, Richard, especially with your job.
Yeah. It's 24/7 itself, and then trying to do this stuff. So
yeah. So yeah, much respect. There's a lot more, for those watching or listening, especially for someone like Josh, you really have to take the respect to know how much goes into the creative process and getting it put. Me and Richard does so much more than I do. I'm just here to look pretty. He does all the editing. I just stand here and I'm like, oh, turn on camera. Hi, Richard. But there's so much more to it that goes into it.
Right. And even doing these podcasts and stuff, like I was talking to, we just went to the Balloon Fest in Findlay, and I was talking to some friends that we met up there that I haven't seen them in a while. And they were asking how it was going and stuff. And I was like, it's just like movie stars. When they have a movie coming out, they do the rounds on all the shows and stuff. And that's what I do. When I've got the Kickstarters or new books coming out, like you make the rounds, and that adds even more time. Like I was telling you guys, I think this is 7 or 8 just this week that I've done. You're the second one today, so it's tiring, but it's worth it. When I sell a book to anybody, it's like, the stupid ideas from my head are now going to be in their head, and hopefully they can laugh or get some type of entertainment out of it, depending on which book or comic they buy. So it's, there are artists are weird people in general, whether you're a music artist or an art, a drawing artist or anything. But I think when you decide, like, some artists just like to be the artists, and that's all they want to do. They don't want to get their stuff out in the world. They just use it to relax or whatever. And that's totally fine. But if you're trying to make a career of it, if you feel like the things that you have to say are important enough where you want people across the world to see that, it's work. It becomes a job, and it's something you have to really take seriously. And there are millions of other people that are just as talented as I am. So that's where the difference is how much work are you willing to put in to do it. And
which is great advice for, I'm sure even like right now, there are people of all ages that are where you were years ago, getting ready to make that leap.
Yep.
That, they're not 100% sure what they're getting into yet, but it's nice knowing that there are people out there like you that have, gone through this and are going through this, that are willing to talk to people, schmucks like us, to let us know, how much work goes into it.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, I can tell you right now, for every book I've sold, there's been 5 to 30 people that have been like, no, thanks. So and that's hard to deal with sometimes. You're like, you don't want my book? You don't think I'm funny or handsome? Like,
yeah.
So it's, it's hard. That's one of the first thing I tell anybody when they ask me like, what's the first thing I should do? It's like, well, you better get thick skin and you better get that real quick, because you're going to get told, even when I contact podcasts and stuff, you guys are nice enough to have me on 3 or 4 times now, which is amazing. I appreciate it. But there's 30 other podcasts that either never emailed me back or straight up said NO period, so.
I think, what would be a good training exercise for people that are looking to get into like your line of work is have them do the charity clipboard thing where they stand outside of like a supermarket or something and just make up some BS, really bad charity or something that is guaranteed to get people to say no, just to get that gamut of no. Would you like to talk to me? No. It's like their triathlon training, building up that thick skin.
It be like that sometimes.
Yeah.
I can tell you. It's hard. Even I was in a band first, so that's where I developed my thick skin to understand that, they just don't see it yet, and that's okay, but one day they will. And that's another thing. That's like usually the second thing I tell people is find motivation everywhere. Find it in your wins, find it in your losses. Even if you have like a day in between, find it like, oh, I didn't get a win today, so I need to get a win tomorrow.
I spent most of my 20s and 30s in bars and in clubs, so believe me, I have gone through the gamut of hearing the word no many a time. What? No, okay.
Try the dating apps for a week. You'll know plenty of times.
Well, like this year, I actually went to space. I went to space as a creator, not necessarily with and stuff. And I actually sold some of my zines, so I was like really impressed this year. It was like that's such a wild feeling actually going in as a zine creator instead of just like UVN and having the zines on the table just as a secondary thing. And I can relate, like you're saying. It's really cool to be able to have a book. Oh wow, and have it bought, and then they flip through it. It's like, because it was like based on my little short film, The Cosmic Egg, and I made like a mini zine out of that. So it was fun. I totally understand where you're talking about that, but years before, I never even went into even thinking I was ever going to sell any. So it's a total different experience.
It's a great feeling, and I'm at the point now where I've done a lot of the cons several times. I try to add new ones on, because you can't just do the same thing all the time. But a lot of the ones that I've done a bunch, at Gem City specifically, this guy walks up. I think it was Sunday. Yeah, it was Sunday, and he was even kind of getting a little bit later. And I was like, well, I'm probably not selling anything else today. Guy walks up. As soon as he walked up, I was like, I don't remember your name, which I hate. I hate when I can't remember. I can't, you meet thousands of people a year. Yes. You can't remember everybody's name. The guy walks up. I recognize his face. And I was like, I know I've talked to you. And he said, yep, I bought stuff last year or whatever it was. And I didn't even have to do my song and dance. He grabbed like 6 different books, bought them all. I signed them all. And he even gave me extra money on top of it. So I threw in some magnets and some COAs for him because, as much as I like making money, I don't want to make money for free. But I mean, that's even like a win on top of a win. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of stuff that I appreciate and that's what tells me too, like, if you're writing stuff and you never see the same person twice, like, is your stuff even good, or did you just trick them once, So when you get people coming back, that's when you're like, all right, I'm doing something right. So
yeah,
it's a good feeling.
No, I definitely agree with you on the forgetting the names. That's why I love having Richard, because we'll be even Gem City anymore, because we're meeting so many new people where it's just like, I know you. We spoke for a half an hour last year.
Yep.
Rich, Joe, good to see you.
There was I was on a podcast several years ago, and it was not like this. We just did audio, and I'm friends with the people, the guy on Facebook, but I don't go snoop everybody's Facebook all the time. So he walked up and he was talking to me, and in my head, I'm like, I know this guy because he is talking to me like we know each other, but it took me a minute. And then finally he said, hey, it's me from this. And I was like, oh, it's just one of those things. And that's kind of a social media thing. It's like, unless you're creeping on everybody in your friends list, like you're not going to recognize them right offhand unless they're putting pictures up all the time too, which I feel bad about. But yeah, I hate that. And I hear, I think Tom Segura, if you're familiar with his comedy, he was talking about something like that too. And he meets more people than the three of us combined. So
yeah. And it is always nice. Like when we go to a con, or even in our private lives, because of Facebook and some of the cosplay groups that I belong to, being out in the normal world, and you see someone and you know them, you've interacted on social media, but you don't know, do they know me well enough that I can engage with them?
Yep.
So it's always that, hey, hi, do you, and you get lucky, especially with someone like, it's like, oh, good, you know me.
Yeah, I try my very best every now. So actually I have a story about this. I was in college years ago. I had one class with this guy. And years later, when I started doing the comics and cons and stuff, I was at a con and he walked by, and don't ask me how, because I only had one class with this guy, and it was like 5 or 6 years before this, but I remembered his name, and I said, Jeff, and he turned around and came over, and we got to talking, and then he remembered who I was, and he bought a book. So that's why I guess I don't try to remember people's name just for that reason, but that one time I remembered somebody's name. So it's something I hate when I forget people's names and stuff. It drives me nuts.
But I tell people, I have the hard drive was defragged a long time ago. It barely has the storage capacity that it used to.
Yeah.
Song lyrics from 1985, rock solid. What I had for breakfast yesterday, drawing a blank.
Yep.
But Rich over here, no matter where we go.
We draw a lot of people.
You remember Steve and Joe? We met them back in 2005 at that one. I'm like, no, I don't. So back to book. You said book 5.
Yes.
No spoilers. I absolutely no spoilers. But you said that it's the last book. But I'm assuming from what you were saying, it's not like the end where the possibility of more in the future is impossible.
Yeah, and there will be more. So I have Buddy the Squirrel, for instance, is going to get a one shot. And then the Rascals are going to get at least one book. We'll see how that goes. They may get their own series. The Rascals are like my Teen Titans, basically. But I'm doing the next thing I'm doing. So I have that book, Cocaine Stripper Stronghold. So I'm doing a comic series out of that. And we're doing issue 1 of that, or I've actually already started on it. And I'm not going to say the name, but you guys can get an exclusive. I have come to terms with a very big name comic artist to work on this book. So very excited about that. I don't want to say the name yet, because as you well know, it's not done till it's done.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you off air. But I was beside myself.
Todd McLarlin. No.
Yeah. Flew.
Schnork made.
Yeah. It's a Schnob Schneimschmeld. Not quite that big, but this person is not that far from that.
Right on.
Yes. What was it? Friday. This person messaged me, and we talked, about the project a little bit more, because I had met them before, and they asked, well, what are you paying? I said this, and they said, that's good. I'm in. And I said, well, I didn't say it to them, but in my car, I said, holy shit.
Yep.
So I'm pumped. I hope it works out. And I heard from them today already too. So it's hopefully a done deal. But I made an announcement like that once before, and then the person never emailed me back. So
yeah.
But that's exciting. And also, I guess I can say this, more than likely, like 99% sure, I'm signing a manga team. So along with Turkey Sharks 5, hopefully we'll be releasing that book as well.
Right on.
Yeah. So we're making moves. It's as you guys know, the last year of my life has been turned upside down, to say the least.
Yeah.
But we're back up and running now, and with a vengeance.
Yeah, I think we've all been there where we needed that reboot year. For some of us, it was a few years, but yeah. But you, much like a lot of our friends, you come out stronger and more creative and more driven.
Yep. Well, yeah, that's I didn't think I could be more driven, but definitely I found a reason to become more driven.
Yep.
Really showed me how much little time we all get. So,
Yep.
But yeah.
So where can like I know you got the Kickstarter going, but you got a website where our viewers or listeners can go to find all your product, correct? You do sell like online, right? So
yeah. So it's onlyfans.com /. No, it's Cutthroat Comics. It says it right there.
Right there.
Look at him. He was waiting. That finger was on the button for the last 10
I tried to
minutes.
get that on the air for us.
Yep.
And I'll put the link in our comments and stuff like that, so they can find that and the Kickstarter. So
Yep. And if they go to the homepage, the link to the Kickstarter's right smack there. So
yeah, I want to make sure all our viewers and stuff can find where you're at, because I know I went ahead and there, what was it, a year ago, 2 years? I bought like everything. So, I really enjoy your books and stuff.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Again, just like I said, you've come back and bought more. So it's like, I must be doing something right, man? And I think you were one of the first few people on this one, I believe. And I appreciate that, because not everybody jumped on right away for this one. I was getting nervous. So definitely, when I was like, Richard's here, that's good. So.
Richard's like that plant in the casinos that, he goes from table to table. Okay, that table's cooled down. I'll be there in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I try to get most of the books, indie stuff, and I've finally gone up to 3 long boxes of just indie comics now. So we're talking local creators that I actually probably know everybody.
Yep, I was rearranging my comic collection because I have it all in a Google sheet now. But I had to. I went through because I was just running out of space. I pulled out all the indie books, and all the indie books are in their own box now.
Yep,
I almost have like a full box of that, and I was like, "Geez, I'm buying a lot of people's books." So,
as you can see, I've got my long boxes there, and I've had to do the same thing where I went through. It's the struggle of the comic book nerd. Where these boxes are full, but I've got like 8 issues of this I need to cram in here. Time to move. Got to take some from this box, put in this box. Got to have why don't I just take all of these and put here, so that I've got the short boxes for that, and those are filling up.
Yep.
Pretty damn.
The only box I've done that with specifically is I have the entire New Mutants run, 1 through 100. Including all the second and third prints and second prints and all that, and then all the annuals and specials. So it's like 120 books or whatever it is. So it's got its own long box or short box.
I think we've all got that one box where, like mine, I've got a little thing on the front that says, box 12.
Yeah.
This title through this title. Well, there's a couple boxes that are just this one,
Yep.
And I've got my box that's just indie or friends.
Indie friends.
Yeah.
From Indiana.
We got a few of those friends too, but.
So you mentioned earlier, any shows coming up for you?
I just signed up for I think it's called the Western Ohio Toy Show, I think is what it was called. It's on September 7th down in Eaton, Ohio. And then the weekend after that is Monroe Comic Con, which is one of my favorite ones. That's up in Monroe, Michigan. I've done that one, I think, like 6 or 7 years in a row now, or something like that. We do really well there, and that's a fun one. The guy that runs that, Gary, he's a good dude. And then actually the weekend after that is not a Comic Con, but I'm going to Nashville for Packers Titans. So,
oh, nice.
One week off of comic books for that week, taking my kid down to the Packers game.
Yes. Work-life balance, man, you need it.
Yep. So September is going to be busy. And then I think I added another one, October 26th. It's like Buckeye Anime Fest. I think that's when that is. I got a library after that, and that's all for the year right now. I may add one in December. We'll see what happens. If I need to get out there, make more money to pay my artists and stuff.
Yep. And as Richard mentioned earlier, for everybody listening, we'll put a link to your website on there to see where you're going to be in the upcoming year.
Yep, that's all on there and everything. It's make that stuff easy to find. That way people can rob my house because they're like, oh, he's not home.
Surprise on you. The con got canceled. Or, you know.
Well, that's just like the other day I had a t-shirt show up at the house from Amazon that I ordered, and I go, well, I don't think anybody will steal that. They'll just put it back because it was like War of the World. It was like duplicate of this shirt. It's like, it's like, no one will want that.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those things as a comic collector. And then I go do cons. Like I try not to order books like off eBay or anything like that. Like I got to time it out. Because I'm like, okay, if that comes on a Saturday, I don't want, $100 book or more sitting on the porch all day.
Yeah.
So, and I live in a pretty nice neighborhood. So I don't think that would ever happen, but I'd hate for that to happen. That would be awful.
Yeah. You got to get you a crazy cat lady neighbor like I do. So that way, there was a young gentleman with a blue sweatshirt and gray Nikes that came up here. I was like, thank you. Good. Okay.
Yep.
Because my God, I shouldn't say it, but I get stuff through Amazon, and I don't have like a big porch, but like my door is not like in the middle of my porch area, so you can put stuff in this area.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see it from the road. No, right here, front step.
Yep, right in the middle.
Yep.
I had a not at this house, but my last house was like the house was here, and then there was like this little doorway archway thing, and then the garage. It was like a detached garage, and there was like a walkway between there. And I had ordered like a laptop from like Best Buy or something, and it had to be mailed to me. And like it said it got delivered and stuff, but I was like, where is this? And I was calling, and the guy had put it like outside in the little walkway in like a bigger box. And I had seen it, and I thought it was because it was like raining or something the night before, it was storming. I thought it was just a cardboard box that blew back there.
Oh,
yeah. So I remember I was like, what? Why would you put it there instead of like on my porch where I can see it? You put it around the corner in another box that's not computer sized. Like strangest thing.
So yes, tips for people out there that may order something from Josh's website. Just, underneath delivery instructions, don't put in backyard.
Yeah.
I still remember when I got your box. It was like that. It had all the it had all the books in it and stuff, and you had it all nice, neat, and packed and everything.
Yeah.
It was just so funny. Because I met you at a couple different cons, and I said I just need to catch up, so I just bought everything.
Yep. And if anybody needs to do that, you can do that again on this Kickstarter. Throw a week in there. Yeah, it's fun stuff. If you like comics and all that, it's the most comic-y comic you can find, I think.
It's fun. You put the comic in comic book. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's like a sorbet. It just cleanses the palate. You know, it's not your heavy turkey-based gravy. You know.
Yep.
Well, you had a Three Ninjas homage cover. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that. I've had that in my back pocket for a couple years now because I don't know what other writers do, but the notes in your phone, that little note app or whatever, I have notes upon notes upon notes of all this stuff. And that was one I put in there years ago. And finally, like I said, this is the last of this series. I was like, we're doing that. I was like, I'm not letting that one go. Like, I had a couple other ideas that I'm like, I guess I'll have to put that on the back burner for now. But this one, I was like, nope, we're doing the Three Ninjas one because that's like one of my favorite things.
Yeah. And do you do like I do? Because I do the same thing just for real life too. It's like I got to remember this. You go back like a month later and you're scrolling through and you're just like Three Ninjas cover.
Mm.
What the hell was I talking? Where the hell did?
Yep, I've had. So any good writer, from Paul McCartney, actually tells that story about how he wrote Yesterday. You ever heard that? Well, I might be misquoting it, but it was something like he woke up in the middle of the night, had the melody in his head, and he had like a little recorder next to his bed. So he hummed the tune or sang the tune. And then, of course, the next day he got up, listened to it, and then went and wrote the song. So when I heard that, and that happens to me a lot, there would be times I'd wake up from a dream in the middle of the night, have an idea and be like, oh, I'll remember that. And then go back to sleep. And then you wake up and it's gone forever. Yep. There was one, I think it's still in my phone, actually. I kept it because it's funny. And maybe one of these days I will remember. But I've trained myself now. If I wake up, I will grab my phone and put that note in there just because that's like the Cocaine Stripper Stronghold. That's where that came from. I woke up and put Cocaine Stripper Stronghold in my phone. And then otherwise I would have completely forgot it. And now that's one of my best selling books. Mm-hmm. But there was a note in my phone one morning, completely forgot I put it in there. And all it said was Gorilla Dad. Like, to this day, I'm like, what is that? So I'm hoping one of these days I will remember, but that made me laugh because I didn't see it for like 2 or 3 days. I didn't open my notes and then finally opened it. And I was like, what?
And you don't want to delete it because, like you said, at some point you might remember it and it might be the thing, you know.
Yep, it's funny. That was one of those ones. I was just like, what in the world?
And that is just great advice. I'm sure you guys are like the same way. Like you said, you have a dream and you wake up and it's still fresh in your mind. It's like, there is no way I'm ever going to forget this dream. That was the weirdest. 2 hours later, what the hell?
Yep.
It's gone now.
Yep. So yeah, that might be one of the third things I would tell a young aspiring writer. Take your notes seriously. Put them in there, even if you think it's stupid. Put it in there because you might, be able to build on it later or something, or it might be Gorilla Dad and you have no idea what it is. So.
Yeah, I always keep a sketchbook, and then I sketch stuff out. That way I remember what I did. Because I got this brain with these goggles with cyberpunk goggles on. I go, I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but it was cool.
Well, and it might be something later. I've had that happen several times where I'll be going through my notes for one book or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, that doesn't work for what this is now, but I can use it for this, so that happens all the time too.
It's all good.
Yep. It's all good in the hood.
Okay, farts.
Uh-oh.
Kids sitting here playing Minecraft. So
I'm telling you, they're home, Dad. They're not home.
Well, is there any other comments, Josh, that you want to tell our audience or anything, Yeah,
I mean, I think we've covered, everything fairly well. Other than we've said it's fun a bunch of times. So if you want to have fun, you know where to go.
Yeah. And like you said, it's important too, especially, let me ask you, because your book has a great sense of humor to it. Do you find yourself, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, you get like big ideas, and you wake up in the morning, especially for a book that's has a lot of humor in it. Do you ever find yourself finding a joke and like that joke would be great. I don't know where, but I'm gonna sideline this particular joke.
Yep.
It's gonna go in somewhere.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Luckily for me, I'm not out of ideas by any means. So yeah, like right now I'm writing a new novel. I'm writing the comics and all that. I have several other projects that will come next. One of them is like super secret, but it'll be fun. It'll be totally different from anything. I've never seen anybody do this. So, but that's not ready to be announced yet either. But yeah, I put notes in things, and what I do is once I've written, say, the book, like say, okay, so the last Hellscape book, I will go through the notes section where it says, Hellscape Makeshift Memories was the last one. I will delete everything that I did use in that book from the notes.
Gone.
And then I've got notes where I'll be like, okay, I didn't use that or this, but we'll leave this in my phone for now. Or if I have notes for a different project, I'll transfer it right over there. I've got the next novel I write will be called Filthy Rich. And that's like something I had probably 20 years ago. I come up with the idea. I was going to write it into like a screenplay. But now I like just out of the blue, I was like, oh yeah, I had that idea. So that'll be the next novel after this novel. So, I'm never out of ideas.
Especially for somebody like you that doesn't run out of ideas. Do you find it hard to like it's a big word. I can say it.
Compartmentalize.
Thank you. God bless you, good sir.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of those, ADD squirrel, moments where, my thoughts are on a breeze,
Yeah.
Do you find it hard? Like, how do you write? Like when you sit down, it's like, okay, right now I am working on this. Or do you find yourself, okay, I'm working on this. I got an idea for this over here.
Yep.
Do you push this to the side and, go with a fresh idea? Or do you, like you said, make a note, I'll come back to you later, working on this? Yeah,
it's the notes. Like I said, I will keep notes on things until, and really I won't start a project generally until I have like a good amount of notes. But again, I was talking to some friends earlier and they were like, how do you do that? Like, how do you just write? And it's a muscle that you flex. It's just like when you see a comedian on stage doing crowd work and they're super fast and they're making jokes about a person's job or whatever. It's something it's just like you practice shooting a basketball, the more you practice at it, the better you are at it. And for instance, it's really strange. Every day when I sit down to write, and I've been doing this 9 years, I still get just the littlest bit of anxiety where I'm like, I'm going to sit down and not be able to write anything. And that has literally never happened to me. But every day I'm like, oh, what if I can't think of anything? But the way I write a novel specifically, a little bit different than my comic book process, is I have a set amount of minimum words. Like right now it's 700 minimum. I usually go over. But I read what I wrote like yesterday. Like tomorrow I'll sit down and read what I wrote today, and I will edit it and fix it and make it better, like beef up more descriptive words and maybe add in some sentences to make it funnier or sadder or whatever that scene is doing. And then when I get to the bottom of that, I'll look down and be like, oh, I added 200 words to that. So now I have 500 more words of new, basically. And then I just kind of go like this every day, and it gets longer and longer and longer. That's how I write a novel. So, and then of course, once you're done, you go back and I do at least 2 sweeps of it. So technically I've edited it 3 times, because once while I'm doing it, and then I'll go back and read through twice more. And you're always looking at dialogue, but like the second read through is usually like tone and consistency or continuity. Make sure, if I say a character has blue eyes, then in chapter 13, they still have blue eyes, stuff like that.
Because I imagine it's got to be difficult because, like you said, writing in and of itself is very taxing, but you're really good at jumping not only just genres, but like you said, going from comic books to a novel. I mean, I can imagine the writing process alone has got to be similar but different enough where it's like a different set of skills.
It is. I do comics a little bit different. Comics, like I said, I've got my notes in my phone, but I will have a general idea of what's going to happen in each issue. But generally, like I'll do 2 pages a day. So I'll write 2 pages and storyboard 2 pages. And then the next day I'll just do 2 more. But usually because each book is like 24 pages. So once I get to about page 16 or 17, then I will make like the old school, like, what do you call it? Bullet points or whatever, like they taught you in school. That's where I'm like, okay, here's what I still need to fit into this book, So usually the first 10 to 15 pages of a comic are just me just going off. And then the last is like where I'm trying to make sure I hit all the beats that need to be hit, kind of.
Because I imagine just even the formatting's got to be so completely different. Because you think like when somebody writes a novel, you just write until you're done.
Mm-hmm.
If it's 200 pages or 2,000 pages,
yep,
getting in here it is. But with a comic book, I mean, you've got your overall story, but this issue needs to be point A to point B.
Right. Yep. And it's just like you look at it like television series almost, because this is an episode. It's called an issue, but it's an episode, and you have your 3 issue arcs, your in issue arcs, and and then your overall story arcs. You know what I mean? So every issue you're closing this, opening that, and you've got these little bullet points crossing over. I mean, it's just that's how they write television episodes, and that's how I write comic books as well. So
was there anywhere that you kind of were taught? Because I can imagine that there's a lot of people out there, like I said earlier, that are where you were at years ago. It's like, I want to write a comic book. How do I do it? Just like the structure, the format, not even so much that, but even like the rhythm of writing. Like you said, you have so many pages where you need to do this. This leads to this. Here's the end.
Yep. Yeah, it's something you learn. I mean, I'm sure you can be taught it. I never went to college for comic book writing or writing in general. I did take writing classes in college. But generally I learned by I jumped in feet first or head first, whatever you want to call it. And I just kind of did it. And I'm not going to lie, as much as I love Stingray #1, when people buy that book, I'm like, that is not my best work. Like it's fine. I like it. I think it was probably good for my skill there, but definitely I want to say once I hit about Ginger Avenger 2, that's where I was like, oh, I know how to write a comic book now. And honestly, the novels were a little bit different because the last time I read through my first novel, Stuffed Squirrels and Porcelain Angels, I was like, oh, this is still pretty like good. Like, yes, I've gotten better, but this was better than it probably should have been. I don't know how I did it. But I mean, it's a good thing to like, I will listen to podcasts or interviews or talks that some of the creators that I admire, and they'll talk about their process. And a lot of time when I do that, even though I didn't go to school for it, they will have similar approaches to things that I do. And I'm like, okay, so I must be a genius, or this is just how it is done naturally by human beings, because their process and my process will be very similar a lot of the times. So I think that as you do something, just like throwing a football, for instance, if you were to hand somebody a football and they've never been taught how to throw a football, they're going to learn how to do it. And that's how you throw a football. You know what I mean? Like you're just naturally going to figure out that this is how it's done. But yeah, I think you can take a shortcut by listening to the people you admire talk about how they create things.
So you don't hold it widthwise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't hold it by the end like this and go,
oh, I've been doing it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll put it this way. I've actually been in a comic book class for comic books, and hardly anybody completed a book. And then we were just supposed to do like a 24 page book. And those kids didn't even finish. So it's really hard starting just like that, and being taught how to do the storyboard, how to put the stories together and stuff. It's really a challenge.
Yeah, it's doing this, I'm not gonna lie, I want to say every single con, big or small, at least one person comes up to me and says, "Oh, I've got an idea for a book or a comic." And I always tell them, first off, don't tell me the idea, because I don't want to accidentally steal it 10 years from now. Because I'll completely forget that you told me, and then I'll be like, "What about that princess who has 7 feet, or whatever?"
What about a gorilla dad?
Yep, and yeah, exactly.
Still.
So some people, when I talk to them, I can just kind of get a sense of this person could write a book. Other people I've talked to, and I'm like, no way. Like, I won't tell them that, but in my head, I can be like, there's no way you can do it. Because it's time consuming. It's very difficult. And it's just one of those things, like, it takes a lot of discipline, especially to finish like a full novel. And a comic costs money, to not only just to print it, but to have an artist draw it if you can't draw. And those are the challenges. It's I've seen in groups people like, how do I get my comic paid for? And yeah, there was somebody in one of the groups not that long ago. They were like, how do you guys get a comic paid for or something? And of course there's Kickstarter and all that, but the majority of the time when you start, like, you're not going to be able to make, $500 to several $1,000s off Kickstarter because nobody knows who you are. So work extra shifts to pay for that comic book. Like, it's usually, how much do you want it? How bad do you want it? Are you willing to put in what it takes to get it done? Because if you're not, then you're not. Then you're wasting your time. So it's just it's very difficult. It's not in the sense of it's hard work. I'm not sitting here breaking a sweat like, this chapter, but I write every day, every single day, no matter what, and even, not to bring this up again, but I know you guys both know, and maybe some of the people listening know, like, I had cancer recently, and I wrote 2 books while I had cancer. And that's what it takes. How much do you want it? How much do you love it on top of that?
Now, again, Josh isn't advocating going out and getting, no.
Yeah, don't get cancer.
It worked for him. It might, disclaimer, may not work for everybody, but no, you did. You put in the work. You had the drive. You didn't let it stop you.
Right. Some days it did, but
God,
the days it didn't, I put in, if I was feeling particularly better that day, I put in the extra work to get there. So it's one of those, and I've said this a few times, you guys maybe have seen it, and I use it as a motivation thing. Like, if I can do that while I'm in that place, then anybody else can do anything they want to do. Like, it's just how, again, like I said, how bad do you want it? How much do you want to be able to say, I wrote this book or this comic, or sold 100 copies of this book or comic, or whatever you're doing, or made it to the Olympics? How bad do you want it? Are you willing to put in the work to get there? No matter what, no matter how many no's you get told, because you're going to get told no 80 billion times more than you hear yes. So and that's life in general, really. That's
for anything. Yeah. And I think good advice is for anyone out there getting ready that wants to start, go to a local con, or, as we've said 100 times, not everybody watches or listens to this podcast, so they won't be able to, get this great information from you. But if you go to a con and you come across an artist or a creator that really moves you, inspires you, or makes you laugh or makes you chuckle, don't be afraid to talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
People like you, Josh, are more than happy to tell people, like, this is what I had to do. This is what I'm doing. This is what needs to be done to get to where I'm at now.
Yep. Oh, I get messages all the time from people, and people at cons. There was, I want to say 4 years ago or something like that, 3 or 4 years ago, somebody was messaging me on Facebook. and they were asking how to make a comic book. And I don't sugarcoat things for people. You know, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and be like, you can do it, brother. You know, you can, but it's not easy. And I remember, I think it was a younger guy, if I remember correctly. And he had asked, well, how much does it cost? And I told them, you know, you're looking at $3,000 minimum. And the kid literally, I think he said to me, okay, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And right there, I was like, then you ain't got it, bud. You don't have it. So that just is what it is.
Yeah, we got a viewer, Anthony Castro, just commented that he says, just put everything. I put everything into my comics. It's once anything worth having in life, it won't be easy. I want to make sure I said that correctly. So
yeah. If it were easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah,
kind of one of those things.
I just want to get that in there. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
We got quite a few people watching, so that's pretty cool.
All right, sweet. Hey, everybody, what's happening?
They all came in towards the end. It was weird.
All right.
So I don't know what to do, Richard. We hit the hour mark, and I don't want to leave the fans thirsting for more, but
this is where we take off our shirts, right?
We all need one of those. Just rid of no. To continue this podcast, please insert your credit card ID number now.
Yep.
Josh, as much as I love talking to you, Josh. You're one of my favorite people. Before we wrap anything up, you're the creator of the two of us. Is there anything that you would like to ask or add to Josh while we got him on here?
Well, yeah. No, this is what it is. You know, like you said, you know, just put everything into the work. If you really want to do it, you can do it. It just won't be easy. You know, and that's how I feel now, because I've been working on a comic for close to 6 years now, and we still haven't quite got it done. So, you know, I understand the struggles, you know.
Yeah, it's hard. It's very hard.
So, Josh, thank you very much for joining us. Real quick, once again, before we let you go, tell everybody watching or listening where they can find everything of yours at.
Yeah, right there. Bam.
He had his finger on the button. That's why I queued him up more than you.
That is the spot, you know.
Cutthroatcomics.com for all our audio listeners.
Yep, cutthroatcomics.com. Very easy. And that's another thing I tell people is don't have, like, yes, you can have .net or any of that other stuff. I always tell people get the .com. It's worth, I don't think it's more money, but you want that .com because people know .com. You know what I mean? It's like when you tell people emails and it's like John Samuels at Dirty Rotten Bananas, you know, .com. And they're not going to remember that. They know Yahoo and Gmail and all that. You want the .com.
Okay, well, ours is UVN.plus, but you know,
you better get that .com.
It's better than .gov, because then people are like, no,
right. Yeah.
I'm on to you, good sir.
Yep. But
you poor thing, Richard, had you queued up for nothing.
Yeah.
Rich, before we go, where can everybody find us on the social medias?
Well, as I said earlier, UVN.plus. You know, we just switched over that because we've actually half joking the Disney thing, but you know.
I always wondered why that little plus sign was on there.
Yeah, that's why we did that.
Because the test came up positive.
Yep. Positive for sexy.
Josh, again, thank you very much. Richard, thank you for putting all this together. On behalf of Richard Catterton and myself, Mike Borf, thank you everybody for watching and listening. Check out the website to see where we and Josh will be in the future. Thank you very much. Richard, if you would kindly, you've already had your finger on, so you know I'm going to say it. Please press the button.